Juan woke up in the early hours of the morning. He lived in a small town in Florida, right on the coast, and his job as a fisherman required him to wake up early in order to get a head start on the day. He got out of bed, stretched his arms and legs, and then put on his fishing clothes. Juan had been a fisherman for most of his life. He had learned the trade from his father, who had been a fisherman before him. Juan loved being out on the water, feeling the salt air on his face and the wind in his hair. He loved the challenge of trying to catch fish, and he loved the freedom that came with being his own boss. Juan walked out of his small house and walked down to the dock where he kept his boat. The dock was busy with other fishermen who were also getting ready for their day on the water. Juan greeted his fellow fishermen with a smile and a wave, and then began to prep his boat. He checked the fuel, the water, and the other important systems on his boat, making sure that everything was in good working order. Then he loaded his gear, including his fishing rods, bait, and tackle, and set off into the open sea. The sky was just starting to turn pink and orange as Juan set out on his boat. He loved the feeling of the sun rising behind him and the way the light made the water sparkle. He headed out to his favorite fishing spot, a few miles from shore, and began to cast his lines. Fishing was not always easy, and it required a lot of patience and skill. Juan had to know where the fish would likely be, and he had to be able to read the currents and the tides in order to catch them. He spent several hours casting his lines, moving the boat around to different spots, and trying different kinds of bait. Finally, he felt a tug on his line, signaling that he had caught something. He began to reel in his line, feeling the weight of the fish pulling against the rod. When he finally saw the fish, he felt a rush of excitement. It was a large grouper, one of the most prized catches in Florida. He carefully brought the fish onto the boat, taking care to remove the hook and to measure it to make sure it was within the legal size limit. He put the fish into a cooler and then set out to catch more. After several minutes, he felt a strong tug on his line. He knew immediately that it was no ordinary fish. He began to reel in his line, feeling the weight of the creature pulling against his rod. As he brought the fish closer to the boat, he realized that he had caught something big. He could see the dorsal fin cutting through the water, and he knew that it was a shark. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as he battled the fish, trying to bring it in. Juan had mixed emotions about the catch. On the one hand, he felt a rush of excitement at the thought of catching such a powerful creature. On the other hand, he knew that sharks were dangerous animals, and he wasn't sure if he was equipped to handle one. He carefully pulled the shark closer to the boat, trying to keep a safe distance. As he got a closer look, he could see that it was a bull shark, a species known for its aggression and strength. The shark thrashed and fought against the line, trying to break free. Juan struggled to keep his footing as the boat rocked back and forth in the water. He knew he had to be careful, or the shark could easily pull him overboard. After a 20-minute battle, Juan was finally able to bring the shark up to the side of the boat. He could see its razor-sharp teeth and its powerful jaws. He knew that he had to be careful if he was going to release the shark back into the water. He carefully removed the hook from the shark's mouth and took a few quick photos, wanting to remember the experience. Just as he was about to measure the length of the shark, it began jerking around and bit him on his ankle. Luckily, he was able to pry away its jaws instantly and only left him with minor wounds. Because of this, he immediately decided to lower the shark back to the water. For a moment, the shark seemed disoriented and confused. Then it suddenly surged forward, disappearing into the depths of the ocean. Juan breathed a sigh of relief, feeling grateful for the experience, but also glad that it was over. Juan sat back in the boat and began treating his wounds, watching the waves ripple from where the shark had disappeared. He sailed back to the dock where he sought medical attention. He was sent home immediately after being treated for his minor wounds. Back at home, he told the unbelievable story to his family, and they knew he had just had one of the most thrilling experiences of his life. It was a moment he would never forget, and a reminder of the power and majesty of the sea.
In the early hours of an Easter morning in 1996, Morita Gwen awoke with an inexplicable sense of purpose. The sun had yet to rise, and the world was still cloaked in the hush of dawn. Morita, at 57 years old, felt an unusual urge to seize the day, to greet the waves of the ocean before joining his wife for Easter service. With a silent determination, Morita mounted his trusty motorcycle and drove towards his cherished destination, a beach renowned for its dependable waves, nestled near the mouth of Honolulu Harbor. When Morita arrived at the beach, the morning light rays painted the sky with delicate hues. It was around 6:30 a.m. when he reached the shore, a ritualistic pilgrimage for a man who had made the ocean a part of his daily life. With practiced ease, he exchanged his regular attire for the familiar embrace of his surfing gear. The anticipation of the waves and the cool water's thrill against his skin was a sensation he relished as he waded into the ocean, board in hand. Morita knew the ins and outs of these waters, especially the shallow regions near the reef where the waves were most predictable. As Morita embarked on his solitary journey, his fellow regular surfers began to arrive, drawn to the promise of Easter waves. They joined him in the water, a community brought together by their shared love for the ocean and the art of riding its waves. Time seemed to stretch as they rode the swells, the sun's ascent mirrored by the rising crescendo of excitement among the surfers. Eventually, Morita lay upon his board, belly down, arms and legs trailing in the water, a posture he had adored. It was a moment of serenity, a chance to commune with the ocean, to feel its ebb and flow beneath him. But on this day, tranquility gave way to terror in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, without warning, the tranquility of the morning was shattered as Morita was violently jolted from his reverie. A force of nature, a predator of the deep, had descended upon him. A tiger shark struck with devastating swiftness, sinking its teeth into Morita's right leg. The initial shock left Morita gasping, a muffled cry escaping his lips as he realized his dire predicament. Panic clawed at his chest as he tried in vain to free his leg from the powerful grip of the shark. In that moment of despair, he whispered a desperate prayer, imploring the shark to release its hold. But the relentlessly determined shark showed no sign of relinquishing its prey. As the pressure intensified and the creature thrashed, Morita's pleas went unanswered. In the grip of fear and adrenaline, Morita knew he had no choice but to fight for his life. Gathering every ounce of strength and courage, he unleashed a torrent of punches and shouted obscenities at the predatory beast. His fellow surfers, instinctively attuned to the distress of a comrade, paddled urgently towards the unfolding horror. With unwavering resolve, they reached Morita, their collective strength greater than the sum of its parts. One of them, in a wooden canoe, wielded a paddle as a makeshift weapon against the unyielding shark, striking with the force of desperation. The struggle was brutal, the waters around them turning crimson with Morita's blood. Yet amid the chaos and the fear of losing his limb, Morita clung to life with a tenacity that defied the odds. One of the surfers, recounting the terrifying ordeal to Morita's son Curtis, explained how the shark had initially dragged Morita underwater to gain an advantage. But Morita's composure and resilience played a vital role in their struggle against the predator. Morita's steady demeanor kept hope alive during those harrowing moments. Amid the chaos and blood-stained waters, they improvised a tourniquet using their board leashes and applied it to Morita's injured leg. With a collective effort, they managed to hoist him onto a longboard, a makeshift stretcher that carried him back to shore. During the ordeal, Morita at one point stole a glance at his mangled leg. To his shock, he could see only bone on his right ankle. The tourniquet they applied turned out to be a lifeline. Paramedics later revealed that Morita would have bled to death without it, and the ocean would have claimed another victim. Upon reaching the hospital, Morita's thoughts briefly turned to his missed Easter service. But this fleeting sadness was eclipsed by his overwhelming gratitude for surviving such a harrowing encounter. In the end, doctors had to amputate his affected foot, and he underwent another surgery to facilitate his recovery. He confessed that his only concern was that the amputation wouldn't extend above his knee, and mercifully, it didn't. Despite the trauma and physical loss, Morita remained resolute in his determination. The incident hadn't extinguished his love for the ocean or his passion for surfing. With an unyielding faith in God that had strengthened in recent years, Morita managed to ward off despair and depression. His spirit remained unbroken. Recognizing the immense medical expenses that lay ahead, a website was established to raise funds for Morita's treatment. The response from well-wishers, friends, and strangers alike was heartwarming. It was a testament to the compassion and support that people can offer in times of adversity. Months later, Morita was discharged from the hospital, his head held high as he ventured back into the world, a changed man but undeniably resilient.
Omar and Chris were close friends who reveled in the exhilaration of diving. They eagerly planned a day filled with excitement and adventure along the coast of Santa Cruz, California. Seasoned divers knew the allure and dangers that awaited them in the vast ocean. Their destination was the magnificent Pigeon Point Lighthouse, perched atop a towering cliff overlooking the central California coast. Not only was this lighthouse a guiding beacon for sailors, but it also served as a symbol of hope for weary travelers. The waters surrounding the lighthouse were part of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, a protected haven teeming with a vibrant array of marine life. Within the sanctuary's depths dwelled a myriad of fascinating creatures, ranging from vibrant tropical fish to majestic sea mammals like seals, sea otters, and dolphins. However, the hunting ground of the great white shark, an apex predator, also ruled these waters with unyielding dominance. The cool temperatures and abundant presence of marine mammals made it an ideal habitat for these fearsome creatures. On that fateful morning in September 1984, Omar and Chris suited up in sleek black wetsuits, preparing to explore the mysteries beneath the waves near Pigeon Point. Despite the overcast skies and diminished visibility, their excitement was undeterred. They had braved these depths before, confident in their abilities to navigate the underwater realm. As they descended into the murky depths, weaving through rocky crevices and swaying strands of seagrass, they remained blissfully unaware of the lurking danger beneath them. Concealed from their view, a great white shark patiently bided its time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, without any warning, the serenity of the water was shattered. The great white shark, a formidable predator of unparalleled ferocity, lunged at Omar with relentless force. Its jaws, filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth, clamped down on his body, propelling him violently into the air. Chris stood rooted to the spot, his heart pounding in his chest, as he helplessly observed the horrifying scene unfolding before his eyes. Omar, rendered defenseless, was torn away from the safety of the surface, disappearing beneath the churning waves. The water around them transformed into a swirling red cauldron, mirroring the savage brutality of the predator lurking beneath. A potent blend of fear and determination surged through Chris's veins as he summoned his courage and dove back into the treacherous depths where his friend had vanished. The water enveloped him, turning everything into a murky abyss that obscured his vision and distorted the once familiar underwater landscape. Every stroke became a desperate battle against the resistance of the current, while his lungs cried out for precious air. Amidst the chaos, his mind grappled with a turbulent mix of panic and unwavering resolve. As Chris descended into the depths of the inky blackness, a true horror of Omar's injuries was unveiled. The shark's savage assault had left a trail of devastation etched onto Omar's body. His hands, fingers, wrists, posterior thighs, and buttocks were marred by gruesome lacerations and torn flesh, testaments to the unrelenting power of the predator's jaws. Deep, ragged wounds gaped wide, unleashing a torrent of crimson that merged with the surrounding seawater. Undeterred by the grisly sight, Chris reached out with trembling hands, seizing hold of Omar's battered form. He battled against the relentless currents, his muscles straining under the weight of his gravely injured friend as he fought to bring him back to the boat's safety. Omar lay motionless, drenched in a macabre tapestry of blood and torn flesh, his life ebbing away with every passing moment. The severity of Omar's wounds was tragically evident. The unyielding assault of the shark had inflicted irreparable damage, resulting in exsanguination, the draining of his life force through multiple savage bites. The once vibrant hues of the ocean were now juxtaposed with the stark contrast of Omar's fading vitality, a haunting reminder of the savage and primal nature of the shark's attack. News of Omar's untimely demise spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves throughout the community. The Coast Guard and local authorities swiftly issued warnings, cautioning swimmers, surfers, and divers to steer clear of the treacherous waters near Pigeon Point. Marine biologists and shark experts embarked on exhaustive investigations, striving to understand the sudden surge in shark activity that had caused such a tragic loss. It was soon revealed that Omar's encounter was not an isolated incident. Within a mere 15-day span, 4 shark attacks had terrorized the Pacific coast of the United States. The local community and beyond were forever changed by these horrific events, now acutely aware of the lurking danger beneath the ocean's serene facade.
The sun hung high in the sky, its golden rays casting a brilliant tapestry of blues and greens over the tranquil waters of Western Australia. This picturesque paradise, where dense forests kissed the edges of pristine beaches, was the dream destination for adventure seekers worldwide in the summer of 2021. Among them stood Lucas Silva, a 30-year-old Brazilian tourist who had long felt an irresistible pull of the ocean's mysteries. Heavy with the scent of salt, the air carried on a gentle sea breeze. As Lucas approached the shore, the sand felt warm and welcoming beneath his feet. He could hear beachgoers' distant laughter and waves' rhythmic crash. The boat, a sturdy vessel with a weathered wood deck, swayed gently at the dock. With each step, anticipating the underwater world's secrets filled Lucas with wonder and excitement. Lucas descended into the water, the sea's cool embrace enveloping him. The transition from the warm, sun-drenched world above to the serene, liquid realm below was like entering another dimension. His snorkel mask provided a window to an underwater kingdom where coral reefs stretched out like ancient cities, each nook and cranny home to a different species of marine life. Schools of iridescent fish, their scales shimmering like jewels, darted playfully around him. As the group ventured further from the shore, the water's depth increased, and a subtle unease crept over Maria, the experienced local guide. Her weathered skin bore the traces of countless adventures beneath the waves, and her keen eyes had learned to decipher the subtlest nuances of the ocean's moods. She signaled for the group to return to the boat with swift, precise hand movements, a language only understood by those intimately acquainted with the sea's secrets. Just as they began their retreat, a massive shadow, dark and foreboding, emerged from the depths. Lucas, trailing behind, turned to witness the eerie darkness. The sensation that overcame him was akin to staring into the abyss itself. A shiver ran down his spine as a great white shark's unmistakable silhouette came into view, sending a pulse of fear and awe through the group. The immense predator, a living relic from a prehistoric era, moved through the water with an eerie grace. Its sleek form glided effortlessly, and the water seemed to part before it as if acknowledging its dominance. Panic rippled through the snorkelers, their heartbeats reverberating within the confines of their masks. Lucas, however, felt an inexplicable fascination wash over him. He had always admired these majestic creatures from afar, but now he was within arm's reach of one of the ocean's most fearsome predators, and a mixture of terror and awe heightened his senses. Maria's voice, strained but steady, pierced the chaos. Her calm reassurance cut through the panic like a lifeline. She urged the group to remain calm and close together, her voice carrying a tone of authority born from years spent navigating these treacherous waters. But the great white shark, a creature born of primal instinct, sensed vulnerability. In a breathtaking burst of speed, it closed the gap between predator and prey, its movements fluid and precise. Chaos erupted as the shark's monstrous jaws clamped down on Maria's leg. A horrifying chorus of screams and bubbles filled the water as it thrashed violently. The sea around them became a fierce battleground, and the salt water mixed with the metallic tang of blood. Blood clouded the azure sea, a stark reminder of nature's ruthless savagery. Lucas, driven by a surge of adrenaline, reacted with lightning reflexes. With all his strength, he seized a jagged piece of coral and plunged it into the shark's eye, the water around him pulsing with tension. The great white shark convulsed in agony, and its grip on Maria relinquished. She fought her way to the surface, her injured leg trailing a macabre ribbon of red. Still in the water, Lucas swam towards her, every stroke a desperate bid for survival. His muscles burned, and every heartbeat echoed in his ears. The weight of the ocean above pressed down on him, a constant reminder of the relentless struggle beneath the waves. Back on the boat, frantic hands pulled Maria to safety, her face contorted in pain. Lucas, his heart pounding in his chest, reached the vessel next. His body trembled, but his eyes held an undeniable fire of determination. The deck, once stable, now seemed to sway with the rhythm of his racing heart. As they sped back to the safety of the shore, Lucas couldn't escape the haunting memory of the shark's predatory eyes. The encounter had left an indelible mark on his soul, a potent mixture of awe and terror. It had transformed him, forging a profound connection with the untamed world beneath the ocean's surface. The taste of salt water lingered in his mouth, and the adrenaline rush still coursed through his veins, a vivid reminder of his life and death struggle. In the days that followed, Lucas visited Maria in the hospital. Their shared experience had bound them together, creating a bond that transcended words. The incident also served as a stark reminder to the local community and tourists alike about the need to respect the ocean and its magnificent yet unforgiving inhabitants. Lucas had escaped the clutches of a gruesome fate, but had also been granted a deeper understanding of the intricate dance between humanity and nature. The great white shark, once a symbol of fear, had become an unexpected mentor, imparting lessons in humility and reverence for the wild world that thrives beneath the waves.
The storm clouds gathered around Kira Beach, casting a dark shadow over the sea. Despite the ominous weather, a group of 6 friends, undeterred by the gloom, made their way to the shoreline. It was 1937, and they sought an adventure, a moment of respite after a long day's work. As the clock struck 5 p.m., they plunged into the water, their laughter carried away by the gusty winds. The waves crashed around them, offering a thrilling playground for their bodyboards. One by one, their friends swam back to the safety of the shore, leaving Norman, Gervin, Gordon, and Jack in the surf. Having the time of his life, Norman relished the sea's thrill. But suddenly, a sharp tug on his leg shattered his euphoria. Panic coursed through his veins as he realized a predator lurked beneath the surface. He thrashed his arms wildly, desperately hoping to catch the attention of his friends. Unaware of Norman's plight, Gervin, Gordon, and Jack mistook his frantic movements for playful antics. They chuckled and continued to frolic in the waves. However, Gordon's keen instinct sensed something amiss. His laughter turned to concern as he witnessed the terror etched on Norman's face. Gordon swam to Norman's side in a heartbeat, his body surging with adrenaline. With every kick, he lashed out at the lurking shadow beneath him, hoping to deter the relentless predator. Sensing the urgency, Jack raced towards them, ready to lend a hand. But fate had a cruel twist in store. Just as Jack approached, the shark turned its attention from Norman to him. A flash of sharp teeth and thrashing fins filled the air. Fear gripped the trio as they fought against the relentless assault of the shark, desperately trying to reach the safety of the shore. Fueled by a surge of adrenaline, Gordon managed to free himself from the jaws of death. He pushed the shark away, feeling the creature's rough skin beneath his trembling hand. With every ounce of strength, he caught a wave that propelled him towards the sandy shore. Meanwhile, the shark continued its pursuit, relentlessly chasing Jack through the tumultuous waves. In a moment of heroic bravery, Joe, Gordon's brother, cast aside his fear and dove into the water. The waves crashed against him, threatening to swallow him whole as he swam towards his imperiled friend. Joe's arms slashed through the water as he reached out to Jack, barely evading the circling shark. In a chilling instant, the predator clamped its serrated teeth onto Jack's arm, causing him to cry in pain. Joe refused to let go, the weight of his friend's life resting upon his shoulders. With each stroke, Joe dragged Jack through the treacherous surf. The beach seemed like an eternity away, the crashing waves attempting to deter their journey. But Joe fought against the relentless onslaught, his determination unwavering, even as his body screamed for respite. Finally, the shore loomed before them like a beacon of hope. The rest of the group gathered, faces etched with fear and relief. They quickly tended to Jack's wounds, doing everything they could to stem the blood flow. Emergency services arrived, their presence a glimmer of salvation during a tragedy. Jack was whisked away to the hospital, but despite the surgeon's best efforts, his arm couldn't be saved. The weight of the loss settled upon their hearts as Jack passed away the following day, leaving a void that could never be filled. Meanwhile, Alf Kilburn embarked on a jet ski, venturing into the ocean's depths to search for Norman. The sea revealed a gruesome secret. A pool of blood stained the water, ominously swirling around Alf. A massive shadow circled nearby, the unmistakable silhouette of the shark that had claimed Norman's life. Lifesavers and local experts set out to capture the predator responsible for the tragedy. The hunt was arduous, but eventually they succeeded. A massive female tiger shark was captured, measuring a staggering 11.5 feet in length and weighing 850 pounds. As they dissected the predator, a chilling discovery awaited them. Inside the shark's stomachs, amidst a gruesome array of remains, they found Norman's hand, recognizable by a unique scar. It was a haunting reminder of the unforgiving power of nature and the fragility of human life. The shark attack became a cautionary tale whispered among the locals. It highlighted the rarity of such encounters, but also served as a reminder of the delicate balance maintained by sharks as apex predators in the marine ecosystem. It underscored the need for conservation measures to ensure the coexistence of humans and these majestic creatures.
The sun lay below the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the rugged coastline of Cape Harmony. It enveloped the small fishing village nestled along the eastern edge of the United States. The summer brought the mingling of the salty scent of the Atlantic with the earthy aroma of weathered wood and sun-warmed sand. Cape Harmony was more than a mere location. It weaved a tapestry of stories into the very fabric of the place. Cape Harmony's history stretches back through generations, like the sinuous currents of the ocean itself. The village witnessed the rise and fall of countless tides, as well as the dreams and destinies of seafarers, fishermen, and their families. The weathered cottages stood like sentinels on the shoreline, each with its unique tale, their time-worn roofs defiantly pitched against the relentless coastal winds. The sea lured the curious and the brave alike with its ever-shifting hues of blues and greens, holding beauties. Pods of dolphins frolicked in the waves, showcasing the enduring spirit of life in this unforgiving realm through their playful leaps. The eternal scavengers, seagulls, wheeled overhead, their raucous cries echoing in the salt-laden breeze. The fishing boats, scarred and battered from countless voyages, bobbed rhythmically in the harbor, bearing the weight of history and the promise of adventure. Kelvin Holes waded into the serene waters, unaware of the tumultuous events about to unfold. His calloused hands diligently worked, coaxing fractured planks back into harmony with the aging bones of his cherished vessel, Siren's Song. The boat had been his steadfast companion through storms and calms, silently witnessing countless tales of the sea. But today, a tale unlike any other would be witnessed by it. Hammering and patching, he shattered the serene facade of the sea. A shadow darkened the water around him, eclipsing the tranquility with a palpable sense of foreboding. The apex predator of the ocean, a great white shark, made its presence known. The dorsal fin of the creature sliced through the surface with an eerie grace, betraying a hunger that stirred primal fear in its obsidian eyes. Kelvin's heart pounded like the distant roll of thunder on the horizon as he locked his gaze onto the monstrous predator. Panic threatened to seize him, but he had forged a steely resolve within himself through years of facing the unpredictable whims of the sea. He reached into the battered toolbox beside him in a swift, practiced motion. His calloused fingers wrapped around the worn handle of a thick fishing net as he prepared to face the relentless beast bearing down on him. With a determination bordering on desperation, Kelvin lunged forward and cast the net with every ounce of strength in his sinewy frame. The net unfurled in midair, seeking to trap the behemoth that dared to intrude upon their dance with fate. The shark, embodying primordial power, responded with instinctual ferocity, sending shockwaves through the water. The net disintegrated in an instant, tearing to shreds as if it had been spun from the flimsiest of threads. Panic threatened to overtake Kelvin as he realized the futility of his first gambit. He couldn't afford to lose his nerve, not now. As the great white shark continued its predatory dance, its movements became ever more sinister. Kelvin's fingers grazed the hilt of a gleaming, serrated knife tucked securely into his belt. Without a moment's hesitation, the blade was drawn by him, feeling the cold, metallic weight as a reassuring presence in his grip. He deployed a final, desperate line of defense against the relentless onslaught. With a guttural growl of determination, Kelvin launched himself forward once more, his blade gleaming like a sliver of moonlight in the fading day. He aims for the heart of the storm, for the gaping maw of the great white. But fate had other plans, as it often does in the uncharted depths of the sea. In a dance as old as time, predators and prey collided, creating a whirlwind of violence and survival. The great white shark, a creature honed by millennia of evolution, evaded the strike with a lethal grace that defied its monstrous size. The massive body twisted with uncanny agility, narrowly avoiding the deadly arc of the blade. Realization washed over Kelvin like the relentless spray of the sea. He fought a losing battle, a solitary man pitted against the boundless might of the ocean's apex predator. Fear and survival instinct intertwine, urging him towards one desperate choice. He retreated, seeking sanctuary in the safety of solid land. The sand beneath Kelvin's boots burned scalding hot as he sprinted towards the dunes, his heart pounding relentlessly, his breath ragged and desperate. His ears were filled with the thunderous roar of the surf and the primal pounding of his pulse. He felt the relentless presence of the great white, a shadow that he couldn't shake. Kelvin stumbled up the shifting dunes with grains of sand slipping beneath his boots as he fought to maintain his footing. His veins surged with adrenaline, granting him a fleeting burst of strength. He crested the highest rise, casting a breathless glance back towards the shore. The shore welcomed Kelvin's stumbling form as the granules of sand cooled against his fevered skin. With every ounce of remaining strength, he scrambled to higher ground, his vision blurred, and his body racked with exhaustion. Reaching the safety of the dunes, he cast a breathless gaze back towards the tumultuous sea. In the days that followed, Kelvin's hands continued shaking, his pulse quickening due to the haunting memory of that fateful encounter. He knew a rare gift had been granted to him, a second chance at life, an opportunity to carry the story of that relentless battle with him, a testament to man's indomitable spirit against the wild. The sunset over Cape Harmony painted the sky in fiery red and dusky violet shades. Kelvin stood on the shore, fixing his gaze on the boundless horizon. The chapter in the story of the sea depicted a case of man's unyielding struggle against the forces of nature, serving as a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to sail the wild waters.
Magdalene had always been a hard worker. She grew up in a small town in the Midwest, where her parents instilled in her the value of a strong work ethic. When she graduated from high school, she immediately started working at a local factory, putting in long hours and saving every penny she could. As she got older, Magdalene began to dream of something more. She wanted to travel the world, experience new cultures, and live life on her own terms. But she knew that in order to do that, she would need to save up a substantial amount of money. So she set her sights on a career in finance. She went back to school at night while working full-time during the day, and eventually earned a degree in accounting. With her new skills and knowledge, Magdalene landed a job at a large financial firm in the city. For the next 25 years, Magdalene dedicated herself to her job. She worked tirelessly, climbing the corporate ladder and earning promotions along the way. She saved as much money as she could, always keeping her eye on the prize of an early retirement. Despite her success in her career, Magdalene never lost sight of her dreams. She spent every spare moment planning and researching her future travels, making sure that she'd be able to experience everything she had ever wanted to see and do. Finally, at the age of 43, Magdalene decided it was time to retire. She had saved enough money to support herself for the rest of her life, and she was ready to start living her dream. Magdalene sold her house, bought a small RV, and set out on the road. Over the next few years, she traveled all over the United States, visiting national parks, historical landmarks, and small towns. She met new people, tried new foods, and saw things she had never imagined. As she traveled, Magdalene realized that she had made the right decision in retiring early. She was finally able to live the life she had always dreamed of, and she was grateful for every moment. One day, as Magdalene was driving along the coast, she came across a small beach town that caught her eye. It was a picturesque place with quaint little shops and cafes lining the streets and a long sandy beach stretching out in front of her. Magdalene knew she had to stop and explore. She parked the RV in a nearby campground and spent the next few days wandering around the town. She met some friendly locals who showed her their favorite spots, including a hidden cove that was only accessible at low tide. Magdalene spent hours sitting on the beach, watching the waves crash against the shore and feeling the sun on her face. As she walked through the town, Magdalene couldn't help but notice how relaxed everyone seemed. People strolled along the streets, stopping to chat with each other or sit at outdoor tables and enjoy a coffee or a snack. There was a sense of peace and contentment in the air that was infectious. Magdalene found herself drawn to the idea of settling down in this little town. She had been on the road for years now, and while she loved the freedom and adventure of traveling, she was starting to feel a little bit lonely. She missed having a community of people around her, and she longed for a place to call home. After some thought, Magdalene decided to take the plunge. She found a small cottage for sale on a quiet street just a few blocks from the beach, and she decided to buy it. She spent the next few months fixing it up, adding her own personal touches and making it feel like home. Magdalene spent her days exploring the town and getting to know her neighbors. She went on long walks on the beach and learned how to drive a boat. One evening, Magdalene decided to take her small boat out to sea and spend the night sleeping on the waves. It was a clear night, with a full moon casting a soft glow over the water. She lay down in the boat and listened to the sound of the waves lapping against the side. As she drifted off to sleep to the sound of the gentle lapping of the waves against the hull of the boat, Magdalene was startled awake by a sudden jolt. The boat was rocking violently, and she could hear something thrashing in the water nearby. She sat up and peered over the side of the boat, trying to make out what was happening. That's when she saw it. A massive great white shark, easily 15 feet long, was attacking her boat. It had bitten into the side of the boat and was shaking it back and forth, trying to get Magdalene inside. Magdalene tried to stay calm, but her mind was racing. She had heard stories of sharks attacking boats before, and she didn't know what to do. She grabbed a nearby oar and began hitting the shark with all her might, hoping to scare it away. But the shark seemed undeterred, continuing to bite and shake the boat. Magdalene frantically searched for something else to use as a weapon. She remembered that she had a can of bear spray on board, but she wasn't sure if it would be enough to scare off a 15-foot predator. She quickly grabbed it and aimed it at the shark's face and sprayed, hoping to repel it with a strong scent. To her relief, the spray seemed to do the trick. The shark suddenly released the boat and swam away, disappearing into the darkness. Magdalene sat there for a few minutes, catching her breath and waiting to make sure the shark wasn't coming back. Magdalene breathed a sigh of relief as the shark swam away, but her relief was short-lived. Magdalene thought she was safe, but she was wrong. The shark had disappeared into the darkness, but it had not given up. It circled the boat and came back for a second attack. The shark reappeared, its massive jaws closing in on her arm. Magdalene screamed in terror as the shark clamped down on her arm, dragging her into the water. Pain shot through her body as the shark shook her violently, trying to tear her arm off. Magdalene's mind raced with fear and panic as she desperately fought back, hitting the shark with everything she could find. But the shark was too strong, and Magdalene's efforts seemed to only anger it more. Just when she thought all hope was lost, Magdalene spotted a nearby boat. With all her strength, she managed to break free from the shark's grip and swim towards the boat, yelling for help. The occupants of the boat quickly sprang into action, pulling Magdalene out of the water and taking her to shore. Her arm was badly injured, and she was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Magdalene spent the next few weeks in the hospital, recovering from her injuries. The attack had left her with deep wounds and extensive nerve damage in her arm, making it difficult to move or even hold things. She was devastated to learn that she might not ever fully regain the use of her arm. Despite the setback, Magdalene refused to give up on her dream of living in the beach town. She worked tirelessly to rehabilitate her arm, undergoing multiple surgeries and months of physical therapy. Slowly but surely, she began to regain some movement in her arm, but it would never be the same. Magdalene's experience with a shark attack had left her with a newfound appreciation for life. She realized that every moment was precious and should be treasured. She decided to use her experience to inspire others, sharing her story and encouraging people to never give up on their dreams, no matter what obstacles they might face. In the end, Magdalene found that her dream of settling down in a small beach town had come true. Despite the hardships and challenges she had faced, she had found a community of people who welcomed her with open arms and helped her through her recovery. She continued to explore the town and surrounding areas, but now with a newfound appreciation for life and a deeper sense of gratitude for every moment.
With its low position on the horizon, the sun hung gracefully, casting its long golden rays over the rugged coast of Cape Serenity in Massachusetts. The summer of 1998 was unfolding, bringing with it the notorious reputation of the Atlantic Ocean for its capricious temperament. John Copper, a seafarer with many years of experience, emerged as a weathered individual who hailed from a lineage of fishermen who had skillfully plied their trade along this treacherous expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. John called Rockport his home, a charming fishing village at the Cape's edge, a place where the air was stained with salt and the narrow streets echoed with the cries of gulls. The sea, with its dual role as a provider, bestowed its bountiful gifts upon humanity while simultaneously demanding its rightful tribute. On a fateful morning, the promise of a generous catch whispered through the salty breeze, beckoning John to set out alone. With determination in his eyes, he embarked on his adventure, his trusty boat, the Lady's Grace, slicing through the waves with precision and grace. Knowing the risks involved in solo expeditions, he was still enticed by the allure of a particularly rich fishing spot, known as Whale's Maw, which ultimately led him astray from the safety of the fleet. As the hours passed, John's anticipation gradually diminished, and a palpable unease began to replace it. The waters grew eerily calm, and a deceptive stillness settled upon them, creating an illusion that masked the teeming life that thrived beneath the surface. Suddenly, the unmistakable form of a great white shark emerged, showcasing its immense size and power as a leviathan of the deep. The great white shark circled, slicing through the water with its dorsal fin, resembling a sharp knife. John's heart raced as he fixated on the predator below. He was well acquainted with the stories surrounding these creatures, which possessed the formidable ability to effortlessly snap a boat in two with a single bite. Panic loomed menacingly, threatening to engulf him, but the countless years spent navigating the vast sea's treacherous waters had instilled an unwavering faith in his intuition. Scanning the horizon, he fervently prayed for any indication of a fellow fisherman, or the sight of a ship on the distant horizon. The relentless expanse of the sea stretched infinitely in all directions, offering nothing but its vastness to the weary traveler. It was a duel between man and nature, a confrontation that neither the man nor the shark had actively sought, but both found themselves inexorably bound to. The minutes stretched out into what felt like hours as the standoff continued. With steady hands, John reached for the flare gun that was secured to the boat's railing. Aiming towards the sky, he pulled the trigger, sending a brilliant red flare soaring. The signal emanated as a beacon of hope, instilling within him a fervent prayer that it would catch the attention of someone, somewhere, who would perceive it and promptly render aid. As the flare arced through the sky, John's heart pounded in his chest, his senses heightened by the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Breathless, he watched as the object burst into a mesmerizing shower of sparks, which gracefully scattered an enchanting light across the vast expanse of the darkening sea. For a brief moment, the world appeared to be suspended in time as the rhythmic clapping of waves against his boat became the only sound that could be heard. From the mist-shrouded distance, a shape emerged, revealing itself as a vessel that gracefully cut through the calm waters. A tidal wave of relief washed over John, engulfing him in its comforting embrace. The Silver Crest, a sturdy craft captained by Ben Thompson, was a sight for sore eyes as it stood tall in the fading light. The crew of the Silver Crest sprang into action. Their shouts and movements were synchronized in a dance of urgency. They were well aware of the danger that lurked beneath the surface, fully aware of the precariousness of the situation. In the fading light, the harpoons gleamed as the brave individuals prepared themselves to confront the formidable Great White. The battle ensued, and it transformed into a symphony of chaos and courage. The sea churned with a fury matched only by the determination of the individuals who called it their home. Harpoons were slicing through the air. Their aim was true as they struck the water with a resounding thud. Undeterred by the onslaught, the great white shark surged towards John's beleaguered boat with an unyielding force of nature. Time blurred as it folded moments into one another, desperately seeking survival. John's muscles were throbbing with pain, and he was struggling to catch his breath, which was coming in ragged gasps. Just as despair began to claw at his resolve, John felt a surge of determination as Captain Ben delivered a final, well-aimed strike that found its mark. The harpoon struck true, driving the beast back as it was forced to retreat, leaving behind a trail of crimson in its wake. The wounded great white shark vanished into the depths of the ocean, creating a captivating tableau of churning waters that bore witness to its fierce battle. As it disappeared, a lingering taste of victory, intertwined with the essence of salt, permeated the surrounding environment, a testament to its triumph. In the aftermath, the small ship, the Lady's Grace, proudly displayed the scars it had acquired during its harrowing encounter. It served as a powerful testament to the unbeatable spirit that resided within the courageous sailors in the relentless sea. Having undergone a profound transformation, John Copper returned to Rockport as a man who had been forever altered. His reverence for the uncharted depths of the world intensified. The tale of his heroic exploits reverberated throughout the entire village, captivating the hearts and minds of all who heard it. It was a legend forged from the epic clash between a mere mortal and a colossal marine titan. The years had etched their stories into the lines of their faces, as each wrinkle bore witness to the battles they had fought and the storms they had endured. The sailors had been shaped and molded by the powerful forces of the Atlantic's embrace. Their souls were intertwined with a profound affection for the vast expanse of the sea, a love that surpassed the limitations of mere words. The maw of a great white shark etched itself into the annals of Rockport's maritime lore, as a gripping tale of survival, sacrifice, and the ceaseless dance between man and the untamed sea unfolded. Years passed, and the shores of Rockport bore witness to countless sunsets and storms, painting a vivid tapestry of nature's ever-changing beauty and power. John's encounter with the great white shark had transformed into a remarkable testament to his fortitude, captivating the hearts and minds of those who gathered around firesides and frequented local watering holes. This extraordinary tale served as a unifying force within the village and deepened their profound connection to the vast ocean that both provided sustenance and presented formidable challenges. The scars on the Lady's Grace spoke volumes about battles that had been fought and survived, serving as a powerful testament to the indomitable spirit of the man who had fearlessly confronted the jaws of death and emerged victorious, thus earning the right to recount his awe-inspiring tale of triumph. And so the legacy of John Copper continued to unfold, as the 41-year-old man with a deep passion for boating fearlessly gazes into the menacing maw of the unknown.
Sebastian and Olivia were a surfer couple from California, and they had been recently married. They always dreamed of spending their honeymoon in Hawaii, and they had been planning their dream honeymoon for months. They were both passionate about the ocean and the thrill of catching waves, and they couldn't wait to explore the famous surf spots in Hawaii. It was the perfect destination for the romantic getaway. As they landed in Honolulu, they were greeted by the sun and warm, salty breeze and the sound of waves crashing against the shore. They checked into their cozy beachfront cottage and immediately fell in love with the stunning scenery around them. And as they stepped onto the sand, they felt like they were in paradise. The first few days of their honeymoon were spent surfing some of the best waves in the world. They visited Waikiki Beach, where they rode the gentle waves and watched the local surfers show off their skills. They also went to the North Shore, where they challenged themselves with the bigger, more powerful waves. They also hiked through the lush rainforest, and they visited the historic Pearl Harbor Memorial. On the second week of their honeymoon, they decided to visit the island of Maui. There, they rented a Jeep and drove along the scenic road to Hana, taking in breathtaking views of the coastline. One day, they decided to try their luck at a secluded surf spot that they had heard about from the locals. It was a hidden gem surrounded by stunning cliffs and crystal clear water. As they paddled out, they noticed that there was no other surfers around, and they felt like they had found their own private paradise. But as they waited for the next set of waves, they suddenly heard a loud splash behind them. They noticed a dark shape moving towards them. At first, they thought it was a dolphin, but as it got closer, they realized it was a tiger shark, its jaws wide open. The shark's razor-sharp teeth were visible, and the couple froze in terror. Their hearts raced as they watched the shark swim towards them, its sharp teeth glinting in the sun. Sebastian and Olivia tried to paddle away, but the shark quickly caught up to them. The couple could see the shark circling them, and they knew they were in serious trouble. Fear filled their hearts as they saw the massive predator getting closer and closer. Olivia's heart was pounding as she remembered stories of tiger sharks attacking humans. She looked over at Sebastian, who was trying to remain calm, but she could see the fear in his eyes too. They had never felt so vulnerable before. The couple tried to stay together and keep their boards close, hoping that the shark would lose interest and swim away. But the tiger shark seemed to be fixated on them, and it kept circling them, getting closer with every pass. Olivia's mind raced as she tried to come up with a plan. She knew that they had to stay calm and not make any sudden movements that would attract the shark's attention. They had to make themselves as small and unappetizing as possible. As the shark swam closer, Sebastian grabbed Olivia's hand and whispered to her to stay still. He knew that any sudden movements could provoke the shark and make it attack. They watched in horror as the shark came closer and closer until they could see its eyes staring at them. Suddenly, the shark turned and swam away, disappearing into the depths of the ocean. The couple let out a sigh of relief, but they knew they had narrowly escaped a terrifying fate. They started paddling towards the shore as quickly as they could, hoping that the shark wasn't following them anymore. They could feel the fear rising in their chest, but they refused to give up. They kept paddling, their arms burning with exertion. Finally, they reached the shore and they scrambled onto the sand, panting and sweating. Sebastian and Olivia paddled back to the shore, shaken but grateful to be alive. They knew that they had been lucky, and they would never forget the terror they had experienced that day. From that day on, they vowed to always be aware of the dangers of the ocean and to respect its creatures, especially the mighty tiger shark. As their honeymoon came to an end, Sebastian and Olivia knew that they had had a one-of-a-kind experience and made memories that would last a lifetime.
9-year-old Alvin Wright's heart danced with excitement when his father, Wright Bertrand, delivered the thrilling news of an upcoming family trip on the tranquil waters of the Bahamas. For a busy pilot like Wright, the dream of spending quality time with his beloved wife, Emily, and their cherished son had often felt elusive. Yet when the stars aligned and the opportunity presented itself, he wasted no time making their long-awaited family vacation a reality. With anticipation building, the family of 3 embarked on their adventure, renting a modest boat powered by a trusty small engine. Their vessel sliced through the crystalline waters, leaving a frothy wake in its path as it ventured into the expansive expanse of the Bahamian seas. As the boat gently rocked with the rhythmic motion of the waves, the 3 found their ideal spots for the journey ahead. Still wearing the smile that had graced his face since he shared the trip's news, Wright settled beside Emily. With their legs dangled over the boat's edge, they reveled in the water's refreshing coolness, gently caressing their feet. While Alvin was eager to respect his parents' privacy and the moment of reconnection they shared, he was equally eager to seize the day and make the most of his vacation. With youthful exuberance, he decided to strike a balance that allowed him to revel in both aspects of the trip. He jumped into the inviting water with a joyful leap, creating ripples that painted the surface with shimmering sunlight reflections. Alvin swam with unbridled delight, carving through the water like a young dolphin, each stroke propelling him farther from the boat and deeper into the boundless expanse of the sea. His parents watched with loving smiles, their hearts filled with pride as they witnessed their son's unquenchable spirit of adventure. Alvin's laughter, carried by the gentle breeze, mingled with the soft lapping of the waves against their boat. Then, like a sudden thunderbolt on a clear day, Wright heard a cry for help. In the azure expanse, he saw his beloved child, Alvin, caught in a fierce struggle with an unseen adversary. Panic surged through Wright's veins as he shouted for Alvin to swim back to the boat's safety. But Alvin's cries pierced the air, an urgent plea for help that echoed off the horizon. Something was wrong. In that fateful moment, there was no hesitation. Wright knew he had to reach his son, regardless of the dangers that lurked beneath the waves. Without a second thought, he plunged into the water, his powerful strokes carrying him swiftly toward the epicenter of the turmoil. As he drew nearer, a chilling sight froze his blood. Alvin, their fearless young explorer, was entangled in a life-and-death struggle with a formidable adversary, a shark. The predator had clamped its razor-sharp teeth onto Alvin's clothing, preventing him from breaking free. Panic and desperation filled the young boy's eyes as he thrashed helplessly against the relentless grip of the shark. Fear surged within Wright, but he called upon his age-old wisdom and knowledge reservoir. His thoughts raced as he considered his options. He knew he had to act swiftly to save his son. In that harrowing moment, Wright followed the advice he had heard repeatedly, to target the shark's vulnerable gills. With his heart pounding in his chest, he swiftly removed one of his shoes, his hands trembling with the situation's intensity. Gripping the shoe with a determined resolve, he unleashed a barrage of forceful strikes upon the shark's gills, each blow delivered with an enthusiasm born of love and desperation. The shark, taken by surprise and overwhelmed by the sudden assault, reluctantly relinquished its grip on Alvin's clothing. It let go and retreated into the ocean's depths, a shadow disappearing into the abyss. Wright's unyielding determination had prevailed. Gasping for breath and trembling from the adrenaline rush, Wright immediately reached out to Alvin. Together they swam back to the safety of their boat, the vessel that had become their sanctuary amidst the dangerous waters. On board, Emily was a frantic witness to the life-and-death drama that had unfolded before her eyes. Her relief upon seeing her husband and son returning to the boat was palpable, her tears a testament to her anguish. The journey back to the shore was solemn, marked by the profound realization that their family had narrowly escaped a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. Upon reaching the shore, their first order of business was to seek medical attention for Alvin. Still reeling from the shock of the encounter, Emily could hardly contain her anxiety, especially when the word shark hung heavily in the air. The doctor's verdict, however, was a soothing balm to their frayed nerves. Despite the terrifying ordeal, Alvin had emerged unscathed. He was remarkably physically unharmed, a testament to his resilience and the quick thinking of his father. As the doctor's reassuring words washed over them, Alvin's eyes sparkled with a determination that defied his tender age. He voiced his unwavering resolve. Nothing would deter him from returning to the water. This close encounter with danger had only steeled his spirit, instilling a sense of courage to accompany him throughout his life.
Ray Boundy, a 27-year-old venture prawn trawler boat captain, lived in Townsville, Australia. Together with his crew, Dennis Murphy, a 23-year-old deckhand, and Linda Horton, his girlfriend, and the crew's cook, they embarked on a fishing trip, planning to spend a few weeks in the waters between Townsville and the Great Barrier Reef. Their journey took a dark turn when they encountered a sudden storm with fierce winds and rough seas. Determined to brave the conditions, they fought against massive waves crashing into their boat, causing it to fill with water. Ray and Linda found themselves trapped in the wheelhouse, struggling to keep the boat afloat while Dennis battled the elements on the deck. Suddenly, Dennis noticed a colossal wave approaching, and without hesitation, he jumped off the boat just moments before it capsized. Trapped within the wheelhouse's confines, Ray and Linda clung to a small pocket of air, gathering their strength and courage. They devised an escape plan, mustering all of their bravery to dive down and swim through the wheelhouse entrance. Upon resurfacing, relief washed over them as they spotted Dennis not far away. The three gathered together in the water, their eyes scanning their surroundings. It quickly became clear that they were far from land, left to tread water in the vastness of the open sea near their capsized boat. Armed with his knowledge of the area, Ray informed Linda and Dennis about their approximate distance from Townsville and the nearest group of islands. It was a grim realization that swimming to the Great Barrier Reef offered their best chance of survival. They salvaged items from the shipwreck with resourcefulness and determination, assembling a makeshift life raft. Setting out into the Coral Sea waters, they paddled towards the distant reef, their bodies tested by dehydration, sunburn, and the constant fear of shark encounters. As night descended, casting shadows across the water, a sudden sense of foreboding enveloped the trio. They glanced toward the horizon and beheld a chilling sight, a massive fin breaking the water's surface, a telltale sign of a shark's presence. Ray tried to ease their fears, assuring them that shark attacks were rare and that the shark was likely driven by curiosity rather than aggression. Yet their apprehension grew with every stroke as they continued paddling. Suddenly, Ray's heart skipped a beat as he felt the enormous shark glide beneath him. Reacting swiftly, he turned and delivered a powerful kick, striking the shark as it bit into his knee. The shark retreated momentarily, but the trio knew its hunger and instinct would likely bring it back, drawn by the scent of blood in the water. Fear weighed heavily on their minds as they pressed forward, the constant threat of another shark encounter lurking in the depths below. In an instant, their worst fears materialized. A large dorsal fin re-emerged from the water, and a tiger shark attacked Dennis. Despite his valiant kicks, Dennis struggled against the predator's strength. Ray and Linda helplessly watched as Dennis was pulled underwater, his desperate fight for survival extinguishing. Dennis had made the ultimate sacrifice, selflessly drawing the shark away from Ray and Linda. Their grief-stricken hearts carried them forward, propelling them toward the reef, fueled by the memory of their fallen comrade's bravery. Yet, the danger persisted. Another large fin broke the surface, and the shark began to circle them, an ominous presence threatening to consume them all. The tension was palpable as they pressed on, their strength waning and hope diminishing. Tragedy struck once more as the shark seized Linda, its teeth sinking into her chest and arms. Her anguished screams filled the air, piercing Ray's soul. Helplessness washed over him, a cruel reminder of his inability to save his beloved. The shark shook its head violently, ragdolling Linda through the water, further fueling Ray's desperation. Driven by self-preservation and the painful reality of his powerlessness, Ray swam with every ounce of strength he had left. The shark pursued relentlessly, inching closer with every passing moment. Then, as if guided by divine intervention, a colossal wave surged toward Ray, offering a glimmer of hope. Seizing the opportunity, Ray caught the wave, riding its powerful current with the last remnants of his energy. It propelled him towards the reef's safety, providing the momentum he needed to escape the clutches of the pursuing predator. Exhausted and traumatized, Ray reached the reef's embrace. A mix of relief and sorrow enveloped him as he considered the sacrifices and haunting memories in his mind. Rescue arrived in the form of a helicopter from the Australian Air Force, spotting Ray on the reef on a Tuesday morning. Though physically saved, Ray understood that the scars left by the psychological trauma would remain with him always, a constant reminder of the brutal shark attack that had forever changed his life.
On a dark and stormy evening in the coastal town of Cape Cod in the late summer of 2010, a 33-year-old man named Daniel O'Connor found himself embarking on a journey that would forever alter the course of his life. The wind howled through the gnarled branches of ancient cypress trees that lined the jagged cliffs overlooking the tumultuous waves of the ocean. Torrential rain pelted down, creating an eerie atmosphere that hinted at the impending chaos. Cape Cod, renowned for its rugged coastline and rich marine life, was particularly unforgiving on this ominous night. Daniel, a native of this coastal haven, was both fascinated and fearful of the sea. His heart raced with anticipation as he ventured onto his modest fishing boat he calls the Misty Horizon, despite the nagging fear that had always lurked beneath his love for the ocean. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cliffs, Daniel prepared for a fateful encounter with the untamed ocean. The eerie play of moonlight on the water created an otherworldly aura that heightened the tension in the air. The waves roared as they crashed against the shore with relentless fury. Daniel was not merely a fisherman, he was an adventurer, a seeker of thrilling encounters with the untamed world beneath the waves. His goal for the night was not the ordinary catch. He sought to capture the elusive essence of the ocean, the raw power that resided in its depths. The misty horizon gently rocked on the turbulent sea as Daniel cast his fishing line into the depths below. Hours drifted by, and as the clock neared midnight, Daniel's patience was rewarded with a powerful tug on his line. It was not the subtle nibble of a fish, it was a primal force from the abyss. Adrenaline surged through his veins as he wrestled with the unseen power beneath. The line went taut and the boat lurched forward, threatening to tip Daniel into the dark waters. His heart raced as he realized that he had not hooked a fish but something much larger and far more menacing. A colossal shadow erupted from the depths, a creature that dwarfed the misty horizon. It was a great white shark, a living relic of an ancient era, its size and presence overwhelming. The shark's cold black eyes locked onto Daniel, and in that chilling moment he knew he was in a fight for his life. This great white shark was a monstrous behemoth, spanning over 20 feet in length. Its mottled gray skin bore the scars of countless battles, a testament to its dominance in these treacherous waters. Its age was evident in its cold, black eyes, and its behavior was predatory, driven by a primal instinct that had been honed over decades. With every ounce of strength, Daniel battled the great white shark. The struggle was relentless, a primal contest between man and beast. The shark's immense power threatened to drag Daniel into the abyss, but he refused to yield. It was a harrowing duel that seemed to stretch on for an eternity, the waves crashing around them as if the ocean itself held its breath. Their battle became a violent dance of survival. Daniel's fingers ached as he fought to maintain his grip on the fishing line, while the shark's powerful thrashes sent shockwaves of terror through his body. Seawater lashed Daniel's face, blurring his vision as he struggled to comprehend the enormity of the creature he faced. Amidst the tumultuous struggle, only primal instincts guided their actions. The shark's immense jaws snapped inches from Daniel's trembling form, causing the metallic tang of blood to mingle with the salt water. With a final surge of energy, Daniel managed to free his fishing line from the shark's jaws. In a triumphant display of sheer willpower, he sent the predator into the depths once more. The great white shark, wounded but unbowed, disappeared beneath the waves, leaving Daniel with a sense of awe and terror that would stay with him forever. Exhausted and shaken, Daniel stared out at the unforgiving sea, knowing he had narrowly escaped death's clutches. His encounter with the monstrous great white shark had left him forever changed, a survivor of a battle that few could fathom. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, Daniel returned to shore, his heart heavy with the weight of his experience. The people of Cape Cod would never know the true extent of his ordeal, as he chose not to share the details of that fateful night. He knew that the ocean was the great white shark's domain, and in the end he had ventured into it, challenging the very forces of nature. Over the years, Daniel continued to explore the mysteries of Cape Cod, but he did so with a newfound respect for the sea and its inhabitants. His encounter with the monstrous great white shark had left an indelible mark on his soul and his body, a reminder that in the world of nature, there were battles that could never indeed be won, only survived. The 33-year-old man, Daniel O'Connor, did not accomplish his initial goal of capturing the ocean's essence that night. Still, he did perform something far greater. He survived a harrowing encounter with one of the ocean's most formidable predators.
Roy Stoddard and Tamara McAllister, a young couple bound by a shared passion for adventure, often embarked on thrilling outdoor escapades to satiate their desire for excitement. Among their favorite activities was kayaking, a thrilling pursuit that immersed them in nature's beauty. Preparing for an upcoming triathlon, Roy and Tamara chose their usual training route from Latigo Point to Paradise Cove. Clad in wetsuit-style jackets, they launched their kayaks from the shore, ready to conquer the awaited challenges. The water seemed calm, and a gentle breeze whispered promises of a pleasant journey. Paddling in harmony, they navigated the vast expanse of the ocean. However, as they approached Latigo Point, they encountered an unexpected tempest. Powerful winds assailed their kayaks, threatening to sweep them off course. Undeterred, they tethered their vessels together, clinging to each other for stability, and forged ahead, their determination unwavering. Paradise Cove glistened like a distant oasis, its ethereal beauty captivating Roy and Tamara as they paddled closer. The sparkling waters reflected the sunlight, casting a mesmerizing glow upon their faces. Anticipation filled their hearts, fueling their determination to conquer their training route. But fate had a sinister twist in store. Suddenly, a powerful impact surged from beneath their kayaks, as if summoned by an unseen force. It struck with a loud thud, a collision that shattered their serene reality. The world flipped on its axis in an instant, hurtling them into the waters. Tamara summoned every ounce of strength within her, battling against the surging currents as she struggled toward the light above. Disoriented and disheartened, she gasped for air, her desperate hope shattered by the presence of a great white shark lurking in the watery depths. With terrifying precision, the shark's massive jaws closed around her vulnerable left thigh, its formidable grip constricting her movements. Like an unstoppable force of nature, it propelled her back into the murky waters, its relentless pull submerging her again into the realm of the sea. Meanwhile, the powerful collision left Roy disoriented, his mind spinning with a whirlwind of fear and shock. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a thunderous reminder of the dangerous situation. Tamara's anguished cries pierced the chaos, igniting a flicker of hope within him. Summoning every reserve of strength, Roy fought against the disorienting currents, propelling himself towards Tamara's distressed voice. With outstretched arms, he reached out with desperate determination, his hand a lifeline in the vast expanse of uncertainty. Though the task seemed impossible, he refused to yield. He grappled with the upturned kayaks with unwavering resolve, struggling to restore balance and stability to their only sanctuary amidst the relentless waters. Each moment was fraught with urgency, every moment propelled by the unyielding desire to reclaim their lifeline from the chaos. As Margaret Bloom stood upon the shore, her eyes scanned the vast expanse of the ocean, captivated by the unfolding chaos in the distance. The once tranquil kelp beds transformed into a battleground of turmoil, the waves thrashing violently against the unseen force beneath. Margaret's penetrating gaze pieced together the fragments of the tumultuous scene. Her mind raced to comprehend the source of the commotion. Were the seals usually at peace among the kelp under attack? Or could it be that the couple's kayaks had become the target of a fearsome predator lurking in the depths? Meanwhile, Tamara clung to life, her fragile existence teetering on the edge. The cruel reality of a severed femoral artery inflicted a devastating toll, draining her strength with every heartbeat. Fueled by love and desperation, Roy valiantly fought against the forces of fate, determined to rescue his beloved partner from imminent peril. Yet destiny had charted a different course in the dangerous game of chance that unfolded. The shark, driven by its wild instinct, returned with an unforgiving fury. It lunged at Roy, its razor-sharp teeth poised to attack its prey. The predator's merciless grip ensnared him, dragging him beneath the surface. Days became harrowing waits as friends and colleagues grew increasingly alarmed by the couple's absence. The upturned kayaks, bearing significant damage, served as a grim reminder of their perilous fate. a cruel twist of fate unfolded when Tamara's lifeless body was discovered floating in the water, chilling 30 miles away from Paradise Cove. She wore her jacket, indicating that she had not been swimming when the attack occurred. Examining her wounds confirmed the horrifying truth. A great white shark, measuring at least 5 feet in length, had unleashed terror upon them. Despite an extensive search and rescue effort, the ocean stubbornly withheld any sign of Roy, abruptly extinguishing only the haunting echo of life. The devastating shark attack serves as a grim reminder of the hazardous nature of the ocean, where even the most experienced individuals can find themselves ensnared in its relentless grip. It's a testament to the eternal struggle between humanity's thirst for adventure and the untamed forces that dwell beneath the waves.
The windswept coast of Cape Mercy, a storied fishing town nestled along the eastern edge of the United States, became the backdrop for a fateful encounter experienced by James Bruce. It was the summer of 1998, a year etched in memory for its particularly stormy seas. The town exuded an air of maritime history, as weathered lighthouses stood tall, their structures bearing witness to countless seafaring adventures. Cobbled streets, made smooth by the passage of time, resounded with echoes of tales spun by brave sailors who once navigated treacherous waters. The distress call from the Coast Guard was received by James Bruce, a seasoned fisherman who was 50 years old. A group of tourists, whom their inexperienced captain was leading, found themselves in a dire situation as they became stranded several miles off the shore due to a malfunction that had occurred in their vessel. Time became crucial as the approaching storm posed a threat to whip the sea into a frenzy. James had a clear mission ahead of him. He would bravely face the storm and actively work to rescue the souls who were stranded. The treacherous day unfolded, etching itself into the annals of Cape Mercy's maritime history. James would face the ultimate test of his courage and skill as he confronted the raging storm and encountered one of the ocean's most fearsome predators, a great white shark. The salt-laden air clung to James's skin, enveloping him in its salty embrace as he diligently prepared his weather-beaten boat, affectionately named the Braveheart, for the treacherous journey that lay ahead. The horizon loomed before them, a foreboding tapestry of dark clouds swirling and threatening to engulf the coastline. Glancing at his trusted crewmate, David, a man who possessed the same level of experience as the boat they called home, he felt a sense of reassurance. David and James found themselves in a situation where they realized that relying solely on their wits would not be sufficient. With his gaze firmly fixed on the tumultuous sea, James muttered under his breath. He expressed hope that luck would be on their side. James tightened his grip on the wheel as the Braveheart cut through the turbulent waves, causing his knuckles to whiten. The urgency-filled crackling of the radio guided him to the stranded tourists, as the Coast Guard provided instructions. The minutes dragged on like endless hours as each wave presented itself as a menacing obstacle to their mission. Finally, James spotted the unfortunate, battered, and adrift vessel through the haze. The tourists, consisting of a delightful combination of wide-eyed children and anxious parents, were seen waving their hands frantically in the air. James's determination surged through him as he deftly maneuvered the Braveheart alongside, ensuring that the boats came perilously close to touching. The assistant assured the individuals they would be rescued from that situation. James's voice carried over the crashing waves as he called out. He instructed the others to hold on tight. With practiced precision, James and David, two experienced individuals, assisted the shaken tourists onto their boat, actively offering words of reassurance amidst the chaos. But as they were preparing to depart, a sight that sent chills down their spines froze them in their tracks. A colossal dorsal fin slices through the water, heralding the arrival of an apex predator. The great white shark is drawn by the turmoil and the scent of distress, its powerful instincts guiding it toward the source. The tourists were left in awe, their faces turning pale as the behemoth circled them, its eyes resembling black orbs filled with a predatory intent. James felt his heart pounding in his chest as his mind raced, desperately searching for a plan. He was aware that they, the individuals in question, were completely defenseless when faced with the overwhelming power of nature. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, James revs the engines, his determination fueling his actions. He hoped that the powerful roar of the engines would generate enough turbulence to deter the shark as he took charge of the situation. However, the relentless creature displayed calculated and methodical movements. Just as panic was on the verge of overtaking reason, a second boat emerged from the mist. This boat was crewed by a trio of weathered fishermen who had spent countless hours battling the elements. The team of skilled individuals expertly navigated towards James's vessel, casting outlines in a synchronized dance of skill and precision. With the precision of seasoned veterans, a group of individuals skillfully lured the shark away from its intended target, providing James with the opportunity to take action. Gasping for breath, James exerted all his strength as he skillfully steered the brave heart towards the safety of the shore. The grateful cheers of the tourists resonated in his ears, filling him with a sense of accomplishment and relief. Upon reaching the sanctuary of the harbor, James couldn't resist the urge to cast a final glance toward the receding silhouette of the great white shark. The tourists, who had been on a memorable boating trip, made their way back to their homes with a deep sense of gratitude towards the boating man. This remarkable individual, against all odds, had managed to defy the challenges that came their way, leaving an everlasting impact on the tourists. Forever indebted to his courage and determination, they couldn't help but admire the boating man for his spirit and the unforgettable experience he had provided them with. The experience left an indelible mark on James, etching a reminder deep within his being that the untamed world possessed a duality of breathtaking beauty and unforgiving brutality. It demanded a profound level of respect and awe from him, both in equal measure. As the years rolled on, James extended his influence even further. Collaborating with scientists, he engaged in groundbreaking research that illuminated the intricate lives of sharks and actively advocated for the establishment of protected marine areas. The case of James Bruce, a courageous boating enthusiast who fearlessly confronted the formidable great white shark, extended well beyond the picturesque shores of Cape Mercy. His story had become a beacon of inspiration for generations, serving as a powerful reminder that the courage and compassion of a single individual can indeed shape the course of the natural world. As the waves continued their eternal dance, James Bruce stood tall on the brave heart, embodying the role of a guardian of the untamed and a steward of the sea.
As the sun rose over the pristine waters of the Great Barrier Reef, Harvey woke up in his small cabin on board the dive boat. He was excited to begin another day of diving and exploring the wonders of the reef. After a quick breakfast, Harvey joined his fellow divers on the deck to gear up for the first dive. The crew helped him check their equipment, including the scuba tanks, weight belts, and wetsuits. Once everything was set, Harvey and the other divers donned their masks and fins and plunged into the crystal-clear water. As he descended, Harvey felt the cool water envelop him. He gazed around him, marveling at the colorful corals and the schools of tropical fish that darted past him. He spotted a giant manta ray gliding gracefully overhead, and he felt a rush of excitement and awe. For the next hour, Harvey and his dive buddies explored the reef, taking in the breathtaking beauty of this underwater paradise. They spotted a sea turtle lazily swimming by, and Harvey snapped some photos with his underwater camera. He also saw a small octopus hiding in a crevice and a bright orange starfish clinging to a rock. As they ascended back to the surface, Harvey felt a sense of exhilaration and joy. He couldn't wait for the next dive, which was scheduled for later that morning. After a brief break, Harvey and the others geared up again and headed back into the water. This time, they were on a mission to locate a sunken shipwreck that was rumored to be in the area. Using their compasses and underwater maps, they navigated through the reef until they reached the spot where the wreck was supposed to be. At first, they saw nothing but sand and coral, but suddenly, Harvey spotted a dark shape looming in the distance. As they got closer, they realized it was indeed a shipwreck covered in barnacles and surrounded by schools of fish. They swam around the wreck, exploring its nooks and crannies and taking more photos. Harvey was thrilled to have discovered such an amazing sight, and he felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. After the second dive, Harvey and the others returned to the dive boat, tired but happy. They chatted about their experiences and shared their photos, swapping stories and tips. Harvey couldn't believe how lucky he was to have such an incredible job, exploring one of the most beautiful places on Earth. As the sun set over the reef, Harvey settled into his cabin, ready for a good night's sleep. He knew that tomorrow would bring more adventures and more discoveries, and he couldn't wait to see what the reef had in store for him next. Harvey had always been fascinated by shipwrecks, and after yesterday's dive where they discovered one in the Great Barrier Reef, he knew he had to return for a closer look. He planned his dive carefully, ensuring he had all the necessary gear, and set out early in the morning together with his fellow divers. As they approached the shipwreck, he noticed something moving in the distance. At first, he assumed it was just a school of fish, but as he got closer, he realized it was something much bigger. A great white shark. Harvey's heart began to race with excitement and apprehension. He had never encountered great white sharks up close before, and he knew that one wrong move could mean disaster. As Harvey entered the water, he was immediately struck by the sheer size and power of the great white sharks. They glided through the water with an effortless grace, their razor-sharp teeth gleaming in the sunlight. Despite their fearsome reputation, Harvey felt a deep respect and awe for these magnificent creatures. He moved slowly and deliberately, keeping a safe distance while carefully tagging each one with a small device. As the day wore on, Harvey's initial apprehension began to give way to a sense of wonder and exhilaration. He was witnessing one of nature's most incredible spectacles, and he knew that he was privileged to be a part of it. Harvey watched the massive shark circling around the shipwreck. He knew that great whites were common in the area, but he had never encountered one up close before. He hesitated for a moment, wondering if they should abandon the dive, but his curiosity got the better of him, and he convinced the others to press on. They approached the wreck slowly and carefully, keeping a close eye on the shark. As they got closer, Harvey realized that the wreck was home to a whole ecosystem of marine life. Schools of fish swam in and out of the nooks and crannies, and he saw lobsters and crabs scurrying along the ocean floor. He also noticed that the great white shark seemed to be hunting around the wreck, using it as a source of food. Harvey watched in amazement as the shark darted in and out of the shadows, searching for prey. For a few minutes, Harvey forgot his fear and was completely absorbed in the underwater world around him. He was so engrossed in his observations when he felt something shift in his backpack. He tried to adjust it, but in doing so, he accidentally kicked a small rock that had been resting on the ocean floor. The sound of the rock hitting the shipwreck echoed through the water, and suddenly, Harvey heard a loud thrashing sound. He looked around and saw a massive shark heading straight for him. Harvey knew that he had made a mistake. He had accidentally disturbed the shark's peaceful existence and now put himself in grave danger. He tried to swim away as fast as he could, but the shark was too fast. It closed in on him, and Harvey could see its sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. The group was horrified as they watched the shark relentlessly attack Harvey, its jaws clamped tightly around his shoulder. Without wasting a second, the group of divers sprang into action. They formed a human chain, trying to distract the shark and draw its attention away from Harvey. Some of them even swam towards the shark and tried to hit it with their diving gear. Another diver signaled for the group to surface and call for help, hoping that a nearby boat or rescue team could come to their aid. However, the shark was too strong and too determined to let go of its prey. It thrashed around violently, causing chaos in the water. The shark was relentless, and it took all of the divers' courage and strength to keep it at bay. They were finally able to pry Harvey free from the shark's jaws, but unfortunately, it was too late. The force of the shark's bite had already decapitated Harvey. Despite the divers' valiant efforts, they were unable to save Harvey from the shark's jaws. As the reality of the situation set in, the divers were left feeling helpless and devastated. They had lost a member of their group, a friend, and a fellow adventurer. They felt a deep sense of grief and sorrow. They knew that the memory of that terrifying encounter with the shark would stay with them forever. They were shocked by the suddenness and violence of the attack, as well as by the realization of how short life was. The sight of their friend being attacked by the shark was something that would haunt them for a long time to come. In the aftermath of the attack, the group was left with a renewed respect for the power and unpredictability of nature, as well as a greater appreciation for the fragility of life. They knew that they had been lucky to escape with their lives, and that they would need to be even more careful and vigilant in the future.
Arnold James, a seasoned 41-year-old angler, had become intimately familiar with the tranquil waterways of Florida over the years. Fishing was more than a hobby for him. It was a way of life, a cherished tradition passed down through generations. On this particular fateful day, Arnold had set out with his trusted fishing companion Russo Black to explore the murky marshlands of Florida. As the first rays of dawn bathed the landscape, the two friends prepared for a day of angling beneath the vast Florida sky. Each man had his vessel. They exchanged a few words, their conversation filled with the anticipation that always accompanied their fishing escapade. With a firm handshake and a nod, they parted ways temporarily, knowing they would reconvene later. Arnold maneuvered his boat to the right side of the river, a carefully chosen spot. Anchoring his boat in the chosen spot, Arnold prepared for his first cast of the day. With a practiced hand, he sent his net spiraling into the water, its mesh unfolding into the water. Time seemed to slow as he watched the water surface, each ripple holding the promise of a catch. With patience, he waited, knowing that the river had its rhythms and secrets. Finally, as the sun's rays filtered through the water, Arnold felt the first signs of life. A gentle tug on the net sent a thrill through his body. He knew that a school of fish had taken the bait beneath the surface. It was a gratifying moment that spoke to the skill and intuition that came with years of experience. Arnold didn't rush. He knew a successful catch required finesse and precision. He drew the net back toward his boat with steady hands, its contents hidden from view. When the net was finally within reach, Arnold gently emptied its contents into the boat. It was a sight to behold, a shimmering array of fish, their scales catching the sunlight in a dazzling display. Satisfied with his initial haul, Arnold knew there was more to be discovered beneath the water's surface. While Arnold had been fortunate in his spot on the right side of the river, Russo's attempts on the left side hadn't been as fruitful, so he decided to sail his boat closer to Arnold's. It was at this tranquil moment that a sudden shift occurred in the atmosphere. The water's surface seemed to ripple with tension, and Arnold's keen eyes detected a disturbance in the river's calm demeanor. He squinted toward the source of the commotion, a feeling of unease gnawing at his gut. What they saw next sent a jolt of adrenaline through their veins. Emerging from the depths was a great white shark looming ominously in the water. Turning to Russo, Arnold relayed his concerns in hushed tones, their voices tinged with a mix of fascination and caution. The two friends deliberated the possibilities of the species, their shared knowledge and mutual respect evident in their animated discussion. As they spoke, the shark drew nearer to their boats, its curiosity piqued by the unusual presence of these human intruders in its territory. Russo, ever the adventurous spirit, couldn't help but suggest an audacious plan. He proposed they capture the great white shark, envisioning the financial rewards from such a feat. He spoke of the immense value of the creature's meat and fins in the market. Arnold, however, was a man guided by a deep respect for the natural world. He believed in leaving the river's inhabitants in their rightful place, undisturbed by human interference. During their conversation, as Arnold continued to explain his convictions to Russo, the shark seized a rare opportunity. With a swift, powerful motion, it lunged at Arnold's hand, which had been extended into the water during their discussion, and pulled him into the water. The shock of the attack coursed through Arnold's body, his initial confusion giving way to a primal instinct for survival. In a desperate bid to escape the predator's jaws, he thrashed in the water with the strength and agility of a fish evading capture. Russo, witnessing the harrowing scene unfolding before him, reacted with swift determination. He paddled his boat closer to Arnold. With all his might, he reached out to help his friend back onto the boat, their fingers grasping for purchase amid chaos. Arnold, his right hand dripping with blood, was finally pulled to safety. Russo's boat sped away from the site of the attack, leaving behind the unsettling scene that had unfolded on the water's surface. Once ashore, Arnold received immediate medical attention for his injuries. The bites, while terrifying, were not life-threatening, and he counted himself fortunate to have escaped. The swift and professional response of park rangers was crucial in the aftermath of Arnold's harrowing encounter with the shark. With precision and care, they provided immediate medical assistance to Arnold, recognizing the severity of his hand injuries. An air ambulance was called in. Arnold was airlifted to the hospital, where a team of skilled surgeons and medical professionals worked tirelessly to treat his wounds and initiate his recovery process. Weeks turned into a challenging road to recovery, but Arnold's determination shone through. Although his hand would never regain its full range of motion and flexibility, he refused to let this setback keep him from the passion that defined his life. Arnold returned to the water, adapting to the changes his injuries had imposed on his angling technique. He learned to use his strength and resilience to compensate for losing talent, finding new ways to cast his line and reel in his catches. Rather than seeking vengeance or harboring anger, Arnold channeled his passion for fishing into a new mission, advocating for preserving rare and endangered sea animals. His unique perspective, born from the depths of his encounter with a shark, gave him a powerful voice in the conservation community.
Christian May, a 50-year-old businessman from New York, led a hectic life. His busy schedule had distanced him from his 12-year-old son, Charlie, ever since the tragic loss of his wife. Christian struggled to balance work and home responsibilities for the past 4 years as a single father. However, when an opportunity for a well-deserved vacation with Charlie arose, Christian seized it. They packed their bags and embarked on a journey to Tiger Beach in the Bahamas. Tiger Beach, known for its crystal-clear turquoise waters and vibrant marine life, was a paradise for natural enthusiasts. The beach boasted a picturesque coastline lined with swaying palm trees, while colorful coral reefs and an array of marine animals thrived beneath the surface. Plus, there are so many activities that any visitor could participate in and enjoy. Finally, amidst the tranquil beauty of Tiger Beach, Christian and Charlie found the long-awaited opportunity to reconnect. The absence of work and the quality of time spent together bridged the emotional gap that had formed since Diana, Christian's wife, tragically passed away in a car accident. One day, the father and son decided to embark on a glass-bottom boat cruise to experience the wonders of the ocean. The boat slowly halted in the vast expanse, allowing the passengers to marvel at the marine creatures passing beneath them. Engrossed in his passion for marine life, Christian lost track of Charlie. Little did Christian know that Charlie had ventured onto the ship's deck, curiously drawn to the spectacle of the boundless sea. Unaware of the danger lurking nearby, Charlie stood precariously close to the ship's railings, his attention fully captured by the captivating sight before him. In a heart-stopping twist of fate, the tranquil scene shattered as a great white shark emerged from the depths, surging upwards with breathtaking force. In a lightning-fast motion, it seized Charlie, snatching him away from the safety of the boat in a horrifying instant. A piercing scream erupted from one of the passengers as they witnessed the tragic incident unfold. The lady's cries echoed throughout the deck, alarming Christian. Dread washed over him as he realized the severity of the situation. In a state of panic, Christian called out for Charlie, his desperate cries falling upon silent ears. Overcome by an overwhelming surge of fear, Charlie sensed the ominous presence of the shark drawing nearer. The predator moved with a dark elegance, gracefully encircling him, its fins slicing through the water's shimmering surface. The sight sent shivers down Charlie's spine, intensifying his already heightened state of terror. Out of nowhere, with alarming swiftness, the shark catapulted toward the vulnerable boy, its jagged teeth piercing his delicate leg mercilessly. Charlie's pain erupted in a heart-wrenching wail that reverberated through the air, a desperate plea echoing for assistance. As the predator's assault intensified, crimson streams flowed from Charlie's wounds, transforming the once clear water into a disconcerting swirl of dark red. A wave of fierce love and protective instinct surged through Christian as he mustered every ounce of courage to dive into the water and save his son. With a powerful splash, his entry disrupted the surface, capturing the attention of the menacing shark. The predator's focus shifted from Charlie to Christian as it swiftly closed the distance between them. In a chilling moment that seemed to freeze time, the shark's monstrous jaws ruthlessly seized Christian's left hand, causing an indescribable torment to course through his body. The excruciating pain was beyond what he could have ever imagined. The relentless assault tore through his tender flesh and delicate skin, laying bare the raw ivory-white bone beneath. Every agonizing second etched itself into Christian's consciousness, testing his resilience as he valiantly fought the searing torment. Overwhelmed by survival instincts, Christian's determination eclipsed the searing agony coursing through his body. He fought back with a ferocity born out of desperation, delivering fierce blows to the shark's vulnerable points. His fists met the creature's snout, gills, and sensitive eyes, targeting its most delicate areas. The frenzied predator, momentarily taken aback by the unexpected resistance, recoiled in pain, releasing its vice-like grip on Christian's mangled arm. Seizing the precious respite, Christian clutched Charlie tightly with his uninjured arm and propelled them both towards the sanctuary of the boat, their relentless kicks cutting through the water's resistance. Reacting with urgency, the crew promptly pulled Christian and Charlie back onto the boat's safety, their faces etched with deep concern. As they assessed the injuries, their expressions mirrored the horror of the encounter. Charlie's leg bore the harrowing evidence of deep twisted bite marks, a painful reminder of the shark's vicious assault. Meanwhile, Christian's arm bled profusely, the wounds revealing bone in multiple exposed areas, painting a grim picture of the intensity of the attack. The ship raced towards the shore, alerting the local hospital to prepare for their arrival. Upon reaching the hospital, Charlie underwent a month-long recovery, left only with wounds and scars as a stark reminder of the harrowing event. Christian, however, faced the agonizing reality of losing his arm, which had been amputated to save his life. Though losing his limb weighed heavily on Christian's heart, he harbored no regrets. The sacrifice he had made served as a testament to the immeasurable love he held for his son. For Christian, their survival and the renewed bond between father and son outweighed any personal physical hardships.
In the coastal town of Port Macquarie, nestled on the rugged shores of New South Wales, Australia, the year was 2002. Port Macquarie had always been a fishing haven, known for its pristine beaches and abundant marine life. The town's history was etched into the very air, carried by the whispers of generations of fishermen's tales. But in 2002, one story would transcend them all, a tale of suspense and terror that would forever be recounted around campfires. Thomas Mitchell, a 28-year-old harpooner, embodied the rugged spirit of Port Macquarie. His sun-kissed skin bore the scars of countless battles against the sea's ferocity, and his calloused hands were a testament to a life spent in relentless pursuit of the ocean's secrets. Thomas had spent years learning its rhythms and confronting its dangers head-on, yet nothing could have prepared him for the epic struggle that awaited him on that fateful day. As the sun's first rays painted the horizon with a fiery blend of orange and pink hues, Thomas and his crew set sail in their trusty fishing vessel, the Ocean's Bounty. The wooden hull creaked gently beneath their feet as the boat sliced through the crystalline waters. Their quest was no ordinary one. They sought a prized marlin, a legendary leviathan that had eluded their grasp for weeks. Excitement coursed through the crew as they cast their lines into the depths, their eyes filled with determination and hope. But as the sun climbed higher, casting a brilliant glow upon the scene, an ominous shadow moved beneath the boat. The great white shark, a massive and merciless predator, glided silently through the waters, drawn by the scent of blood and the promise of a formidable battle. Thomas, his eyes as keen as the sharpest harpoon, spotted the monstrous behemoth. A palpable tension hung in the air, and the crew's cheerful banter gave way to apprehension. Fear coursed through their veins like an electric current as they witnessed the apex predator's approach. With terrifying force, it rammed the boat, sending shockwaves rippling through the wooden hull. The crew clung desperately to whatever they could find, their world reduced to a chaotic tempest. Amidst the chaos, Thomas, his sinewy form illuminated by the dazzling sunlight, positioned himself at the bow of the boat. The great white circled with malevolent intent, its obsidian eye locking onto the humans who dared challenge its dominion. With a primal roar of defiance, he hurled the harpoon, and it sliced through the air with the grace of a predator. The weapon struck true, burying itself deep into the shark's side. The beast shuddered in pain, and a monstrous bellow reverberated through the ocean's depths. The battle that followed was a symphony of savagery and determination. The wounded predator thrashed and roared, its cavernous mouth gaping wide to reveal rows of teeth as sharp as obsidian daggers. The crew members, adrenaline coursing through their veins, rallied around their captain, their cries merging with the symphony of the sea. The clash of titans continued for hours, each moment an eternity of peril and exhaustion. Thomas's hands, once calloused and strong, were now raw and trembling, but his resolve remained unbreakable. The Great White, even when weakened by the relentless loss of blood, refused to yield. Its relentless aggression pushed the crew to the brink of despair. In the midst of the brutal confrontation, Thomas endured severe injuries. His left arm hung limply. A deep gash marred his side, and his leg bore painful lacerations. Blood mingled with the seawater, creating a swirling crimson tapestry that bore witness to the relentless battle of life and death. Despite their injuries, the crew members pressed on, their spirits unyielding. They knew that surrender was not an option. It meant certain death. The Great White, sensing its vulnerability, made a final, desperate attempt to escape. With one last menacing glare, it vanished into the inky depths, leaving behind a tableau of chaos and carnage. Exhausted and battered, Thomas and his crew members were left with the haunting memory of their encounter with the merciless Great White Shark. The wounds they carried, both physical and emotional, would be a testament to their indomitable spirit for the rest of their lives. As the years passed, the legend of Thomas and the Great White Shark became a cherished story in Port Macquarie. It served as a testament to the courage and indomitable spirit of those who dared to challenge the untamed depths of the ocean. The town that had always been bound to the sea now had a new chapter in its folklore, a story of unwavering determination, survival against all odds, and the enduring spirit of the sea.
Jonas Kelly, a 32-year-old thrill-seeker and professional shark cage diver, had always sought the most exhilarating experiences in his adrenaline-fueled adventures. Hailing from Melbourne, Australia, he had traversed the globe in search of the finest shark cage diving spots to satiate his passion for the ocean's most formidable creatures. Shark cage diving was an extraordinary endeavor that brought Jonas face to face with the majestic and fearsome great white sharks. Enclosed within a sturdy cage submerged in the cool waters, he could observe these lethal predators in their natural habitat. It was a dance between danger and awe, where Jonas sought to capture the essence of their power and grace. Driven by his insatiable thirst for excitement, Jonas scoured the internet, consulting forums, and seeking advice from experts on the best locations to encounter great white sharks. Among the plethora of suggestions, Isla Guadalupe in Mexico constantly emerged as a premier destination. Without hesitation, Jonas swiftly booked a flight to Mexico, eager to embrace the thrill of cage diving with one of the ocean's most formidable creatures. Isla Guadalupe, a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, was an aquatic haven renowned for its pristine waters and abundant marine life. Surrounded by breathtaking cliffs and azure seas, it possessed an otherworldly charm that beckoned adventure seekers from around the world. The island's magnetism lay in the deep, where great white sharks ruled with unmatched dominance, captivating divers with their raw beauty and primal energy. As Jonas arrived on the island, he could feel his heart race with anticipation. The air crackled with a mix of trepidation and excitement. The sun cast a golden hue upon the rugged landscape, illuminating the path to his impending adventure. The waters of Isla Guadalupe called to him, promising an encounter that would forever be etched in his memory. On the chosen day of the dive, Jonas meticulously prepared his gear, ensuring every piece was in place. Clad in his sleek wetsuit, he braced himself mentally and physically for the encounter ahead. The moment had finally arrived. The cage was lowered into the water. its sturdy bars providing a thin barrier between Jonas and the realm of the great whites. As he entered the cage, a serene calm washed over him, the tranquility of the Isla Guadalupe waters embracing his senses. Yet, as he scanned his surroundings, he noticed an absence that troubled him deeply: the distinct lack of great white sharks. Suddenly, a thunderous bang reverberated from the depths beneath the cage, jolting Jonas from his peaceful state. His eyes darted downward, searching for any signs of the creature responsible, but nothing could be seen. The water returned to its calm state, leaving him in a state of confusion and suspense. With mounting unease, Jonah twisted and turned within the confines of the cage, scanning every direction in search of the mysterious assailant. From the murky distance, a colossal silhouette emerged, looming closer with each passing moment. It was a great white shark, yet its massive size surpassed anything Jonas had ever witnessed. The behemoth of the deep, measuring a staggering 24 to 26 feet in length, dominated the waters with an aura of dominance. However, the creature had an unsettling element. An array of scars marred its body, evidence of past battles fought in the ruthless ocean. Its movements were aggressive, its sheer power emanating from every flick of its tail. The colossal shark encircled the cage, repeatedly colliding with its iron bars. Each impact sent tremors coursing through the structure, threatening to breach its defenses. Serrated teeth were revealed as the shark relentlessly tested the cage's resilience, as if attempting to break through and claim its prey. Jonas clung to the cage's inner frame, his heart pounding in his chest as each collision sent shockwaves. After several nerve-wracking encounters, the colossal shark abruptly retreated into the depths, leaving an eerie calm in its wake. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jonas urgently signaled the crew on the boat, indicating his desire to conclude the dive. The locked entrance on the top of the cage was promptly opened, and the crew began pulling him to safety. Almost free from the water's clutches, Jonas was on the verge of relief when suddenly a powerful collision erupted from the cage's bottom. The impact catapulted him into the air, his body suspended for an agonizing moment before crashing back into the treacherous depths. With its immense force, the great white shark collided with the cage, inadvertently launching Jonas into the mercy of the unforgiving ocean. Panic gripped the crew as they witnessed the horrifying turn of events, but none more so than Jonas himself, now thrust far from the sanctuary of the boat. Aware of the impending danger, Jonas fought against his racing heart, propelling himself with every ounce of strength toward the vessel's safety. Yet, the ocean's depths unleashed a chilling surprise before he could reach it. With a sudden and menacing leap, the great white shark breached the surface, its immense jaws agape, ready to devour Jonas's vulnerable body. In an instant, the massive predator clapped down upon him, its powerful jaws and razor-sharp teeth tearing through his wetsuit and delicate flesh with chilling ease. For a fleeting moment, Jonas was airborne, his body captured within the monster's maw, before crashing back into the water with an earth-shattering splash. The shark thrashed and convulsed, violently shaking its head from side to side, ravaging the defenseless diver. The once clear waters turned red with the torrents of blood and torn flesh left in its wake. With a bone-chilling crunch, the shark ripped apart the part of Jonas's body to which it clung, severing any remnants of life. Jonas's existence was extinguished, his blood and innards left afloat amidst the unforgiving sea. The insatiable beast was not yet satisfied. It circled back, a malevolent force eager to claim another taste. With unparalleled brutality, it lunged again, sinking its powerful jaws into Jonas's mangled torso, obliterating any remaining shred of life. News of the horrifying incident spread like wildfire. The authorities launched an extensive search, scouring the surrounding waters in a desperate attempt to recover any trace of Jonas. Alas, their efforts proved fruitless, as the merciless ocean had claimed its victim, leaving behind only the haunting echoes of a harrowing encounter. Jonas Kelly, the adventurous soul who had traversed the world in search of awe-inspiring moments, had succumbed to the depths. forever lost to the clutches of a predator that reigns supreme in the ocean's domain.
Inamoto Kubo, hailing from Japan, had called New South Wales his home for over 15 years. Like many dedicated construction workers, his life was marked by the rigors of hard labor and the dust and grime that clung to him at the end of each workday. However, Kubo found solace and rejuvenation in the pristine waters of New South Wales. The ocean offered him a sanctuary to wash away the weariness of the day, a place where he could find solace and respite from the toils of his profession. On that fateful day in May 1978, Kubo's journey led him to Ballina Beach. Having just completed a construction project, he took a short bus ride to the coastal haven. The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting its warm glow upon the glistening waves, beckoning Kubo to its embrace. Kubo ventured further into the sea, blissfully unaware of the imminent peril that lurked beneath the surface. Little did he know that fate had other plans that would thrust him into the heart of a life-or-death struggle with one of the ocean's most formidable predators. Suddenly, without warning, the serene waters transformed into a scene of terror and chaos. From the depths emerged a colossal menace, a tiger shark of monstrous proportions, measuring a chilling 3 meters in length. In a flash, the shark seized Kubo from beneath, its powerful jaws clamping onto his legs with a vice-like grip. This relentless predator of the deep dragged him beneath the waves. Screams and gasps erupted from the other swimmers, who had been blissfully ignorant of the imminent danger. Kubo's life hung in the balance. He groaned in so much pain and agony. The other swimmers, gripped by fear and terror, scattered in all directions, their only thought to escape the jaws of the monstrous intruder. None dared to confront the shark or attempt to rescue Kubo. As Kubo fought for his life, his desperate cries for help echoed through the salty air, a haunting plea that pierced the hearts of those who bore witness to the unfolding tragedy. Word of the harrowing incident quickly reached the lifeguards stationed at the beach. They sprang into action, armed with their life-saving equipment, racing against time to reach the swimmer. However, as they arrived on the scene, the tiger shark had already inflicted its grievous damage and departed, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable horror. Kubo had lost both legs in the vicious attack and lay injured and helpless in the water. With urgency and determination, the lifeguards wasted no time in their efforts to save Kubo. They swiftly carried him ashore, their faces etched with the gravity of the situation. The other surfers and swimmers who had witnessed the attack circled, their expressions a mix of shock, empathy, and sorrow. On the shore, the lifeguards worked tirelessly to tend to Kubo's injuries and administer CPR desperately to revive him. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on their shoulders as they fought to save a life hanging by the slenderest of threads. Tragically, despite their heroic efforts, Kubo had lost a devastating amount of blood. His injuries were catastrophic, and he couldn't muster the strength to recover. In the cruel twist of fate, he breathed his last on the beach that had witnessed his valiant struggle for survival long before the ambulance could even arrive. The incident sent shockwaves through New South Wales, reverberating with the grim realization of the peril that could lurk beneath the tranquil waters. It was a sad reminder of nature's raw power and unpredictability, where a man could be thrust into a life-and-death struggle in the blink of an eye. The authorities swung into action. Police boats sliced through the waters, their vigilant crews scouring the depths in a relentless quest to locate the predator responsible for this tragedy. The closure of the beach was a necessary measure, not only to preserve the scene for investigation, but also to protect the safety of any potential swimmers who might unwittingly step into the dangerous domain of the lurking shark. Inamoto Kubo's status as a Japanese national added an intricate layer of complexity to the situation. The Japanese consulate in Australia swiftly informed Kubo's next of kin and family in Japan. However, the vast geographical distance between continents and the bureaucratic intricacies of international communication meant that it took weeks before his grieving loved ones could be reached. Finally, after a prolonged period of waiting and uncertainty, Kubo's remains were carefully prepared and flown back to his homeland, where they would find their final resting place. He was laid to rest in a private cemetery in Japan, surrounded by the love and sorrow of his family, a poignant reminder of the international reach of this tragic incident. The town's ethereal beauty was displayed on a sweltering and balmy summer day in San Francisco Bay, a picturesque coastal town along the stunning Californian shoreline in 2015. San Francisco Bay's quaint shops and eateries radiated an inviting allure, charming tourists and natives. On the beach, hued parasols reared in a picturesque formation, and juveniles constructed sandcastles with joyous laughter. The bustling harbor thrummed with life as fishermen pulled up their haul, and their vessels rocked mellifluously on the undulating waves. Amidst the beautiful scenery sat a 25-year-old man named Alex Harrison, a figure of staunch resolution in a town alive with hustle and bustle. His sandy blonde hair rustled in the salty wind, and his tranquil face was well known at the seafood market, where he actively dealt in that day's catch. Alex was respected in the community due to his integrity and diligence. He was fairly quiet and composed, yet underneath his inoffensive appearance was a determination nobody could shake. Those around him appreciated his constancy, and many had a good impression of him. Alex cast off that fateful morning with a light heart and a single-minded focus on the task ahead. The sun's rays soothed his skin while the cries of gulls filled the air. He reveled in the everyday pleasures, feeling deeply connected to the ocean's rhythmic ebb and flow. His vessel, worn by years of service, sailed the pristine waters smoothly. The picturesque harbor of San Francisco Bay vanished into the horizon as he trekked further out to sea, in quest of the plentiful fish reputed to be abundant in those waters. The passage of time saw Alex skillfully cast his nets and draw in his daily haul. The sun's rays grew brighter, illuminating the lake's surface with sparkling hues. His ice boxes soon brimmed with a beautiful selection of fish, filling him with pride. Just as Alex was thinking of heading back to shore, a huge shadow moved underneath his boat, sending captivating ripples across the water. His pulse surged as the magnitude of the creature sliding beneath him sunk in. An unmistakable great white shark, the same being at the core of hometown stories. Fear had initially seized him, but soon, a burning curiosity took its place. He grabbed his camera with trembling hands, eager to record this amazing instance. The shark moved with stunning poise, its sizable shape circling the boat with calculated attention. Every click of his camera amplified his intensifying exhilaration. However, as time dragged by, amazement changed to anxiety. There was no indication that the shark intended to depart. Alex began to recognize with widening trepidation that he had gone much further away from the shoreline than he thought. He carefully navigated his vessel, trying to avoid the ominous shark. Unfazed, the formidable predator continued his efforts, refusing to stray far. With one sudden forceful motion, the huge creature lunged toward the craft, its formidable teeth glinting in the sunlight. Terror pulsated through Alex as he struggled to direct the vessel out of danger, avoiding the biting jaws of the shark. The fight for life has become a trial of Alex's ingenuity and bravery. The ferocious great white shark, relentless in its stalking, continued to orbit and lunge. Time dwindled as Alex battled to remain alive. He understood he could never turn tail and run from the predator, but was adamant to persist. With every conflict, he picked up on the shark's habits, tailoring his approaches to his findings. As the sun set, the two combatants persevered in their baleful shimmy. Drained and battered, Alex knew that the probability of his survival was declining. In a nail-biting finale, the great white lunged menacingly toward the boat. With unflinching courage and shrewd reflexes, Alex skillfully avoided the strike, and the predator vanished into the murky depths. With the after effects of the adrenaline settling, Alex was overcome with a tremendous sense of relief. He battled against the notorious predator known as the Beast of the Bay and walked away to tell his gripping story. Rumors of Alex's experience quickly traveled around San Francisco Bay, fascinating natives and tourists alike. He had recklessly approached the great white shark, yet could vividly describe his terrifying voyage. His photos and tale provided a vivid reminder of the wild splendor and peril of the ocean, leading people to appreciate the fine equilibrium of the natural world. In the long run, Alex Harrison had accomplished his aspiration of sighting the fabled beast, yet the experience had left an unchanging impression on his spirit. He was aware that the sea would consistently hide its secrets, beckoning to those who were audacious enough to dive into its abyss.